Hey guys, it's Marsha. Thanks so much for joining me today. I am normally hosting things like this on my podcast, Prison of Prosperity, but I have a special guest that I really wanted to bring video, audio, all the things. We call him Christopher the Great. He's absolutely one of the best humans. I love following his story. It just blew me away that I found out he was looking at 7 years to life in prison and has freedom today. And so that really doesn't happen very often when it comes to the legal system. And I know personally myself because I actually went through it. So I wanted to, his whole story intrigued me. His brother has a whole platform of stuff telling his story. He has two brothers and he's from California. He's 32 years old. And so I just really wanted you guys to welcome him today. And he's going to share just a little bit of insight as to how he got to that space in his life, what took him there, and how he's ending up now living a completely different life that is not wrapped up in drugs or crime or any of those things that were once a part of his past. So welcome, Christopher. It's so good to have
Thank
you
you
here
for
today.
having me.
Awesome. So I want you to start out like seven to life is pretty intense, but let's kind of go back to the very beginning. What did Christopher's life look like kind of as a kid growing up and broken home or a good home or like what was your upbringing like whenever you were a little fella there and before all of this
Right.
unfolded?
Yeah. So growing up, I was really close with my brother Alex. Our family just like always showed us a lot of love, put us in sports, took care of us. But growing up through school, started in fifth, sixth grade, I just kind of felt like I never really fit in with other people. I just didn't have any close friends I could connect with, and just family is what really meant the most to me. So me, my brother, and my cousin Justin, who was a year younger than us, or younger than me, we just always hung out with him. That was just our partner. We were like all brothers, even though he was our cousin. It's like couldn't be any closer,
Three
you know.
musketeers there, huh?
We must here.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I had a very similar one growing up too, so it doesn't always guarantee just because you have a good home life that things are going to be all perfect at the end of the day. So you started to recognize you didn't fit in there. What does that look like that led up to, and kind of at what point in time did you really start to really show that in your everyday life of what not fitting in? Like, what did that do to you to kind of, how did that manifest in your life?
it just manifested up until like all through my 20s, like me just trying to have friends that like did the same that my family did for me. I just wanted love. I wanted everybody to care about me and, have my back. But, growing up, you realize that's not what it is. Your family's the only people that are going to really be there for you. You know what I mean?
You guys are definitely really close, and I can relate to having that close knit family. And sometimes, if that's all you have, that's really good enough. So you went through all these different things, and you ended up finding yourself. I've seen some video of you where you were actually high. Tell me about that phase of like what it looked like when you decided to kind of venture into the drug world and kind of how did you feel when you were actually in that state? Like what kept drawing you into that place and what was your drug of choice?
Yeah. So my drug of choice was heroin. I think years and years of always feeling inadequate, maybe like I wasn't good enough for other people, that I wasn't good enough at this certain thing or that certain thing, that's kind of like what the heroin did for me. It just made me kind of like numb everything. It just made me really didn't care about the mental issues that I had because honestly, I mean, I didn't have like the same excuse, like that I didn't have a good family there, that I didn't have people there for me.
So obviously you didn't start out one day just saying, "Oh, let me try some heroin." Like what led up to the heroin use? Like what did you kind of dabble in that opened the gate for
Yeah.
you?
I mean, I always smoked weed when I was younger and drank, but I never let it really get out of hand. But like, I think what it was like high school, people start popping pills, trying pills. And at that time, like, I don't want to sound cliche, but I really was in the heart of the Oxycontin epidemic, where people were using Oxycontins and then stopped. And it's like, well, what now? Like that literally was that time frame that I was in. So me and my friends were like trying that and I just seeing like, wow, this feels good. this makes me not care that I have to go to school and that like I'm not good at football, you know, and that like I don't get all the girls and like maybe these, you know, just all that mental stuff going on.
So, whenever you were going along with that, did you do that kind of stuff by yourself, or did you have like a group of misfits, for lack of a better word, the same way you felt that kind of band together with you? Or was Alex with you, without you? Like, what did it look like when you started to get to the heroin level?
I mean, definitely Alex never really got into drugs like I did, you know, so it wasn't something I did around him and he was always on me about it. Yeah, I liked being around a lot of people and I liked helping people that I knew needed to get high. You know, like I'm worried about that fool. I know he's sick and he's crying in his bed right now and I got money because I work. So let me go find this person and make sure they're good. When really I'm in my bed dying and nobody cares about me. You know, that's how that situation was.
Yeah. Well, you're really a workhorse. Like you just don't stop. Like you just go, go, go. You'll do 10 jobs at once. That's pretty phenomenal. Most people in that world. Do you think it was just like you needed to make sure that you didn't kind of fall into that, watching your friends who didn't have the life that you grew up in, of the security of like that love you always knew you kind of had at home, but maybe just like making sure that you didn't go that far. You know, as drug addicts, I know we all have these certain like levels of like, well, I was using back then, but it wasn't like that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think a lot of it was like I knew I needed to work to keep fueling that drug habit because I knew 100% robbing somebody was out of the question. 100%.
Yeah.
Doing anything shady to get high was out of it. So I knew I'm gonna go to work puking. I'm gonna go to work sick. My employers are gonna question me and be like, dude, why did you show up today?
Yeah.
You know, and that's happened many times. Almost every single job I've had, they've been like, dude, get yourself together. You look a mess.
Yeah. So this went on for like what, 10 years in your 20s? It all just kind of got sucked into that. You have the addiction, you're still maintaining a job. So most people would call that a high functioning drug addict at this point. And then it's easy to convince yourself too that like you're okay. Like you're not really that bad because you're still working and doing the thing. But there came a point in time that you started getting into some trouble.
Yeah.
And what did that look like for you? Did it start because of the drugs, or kind of how did that play out?
I can't see the drugs and the trouble really being intertwined because most of the crime was like assaults and like just stuff me and my friends would do together at parties. I feel like the drugs was more like off to the side kind of, you know, we all kind of did it. Sometimes we did it with each other, but like I don't see like the drugs and the crime being the same because there was plenty of times where I got arrested and I really wasn't getting high at that time. You know, I didn't like do heroin for 10 years solid. You know, it was like, oh, a year of heroin and then I'd be out for 3 or 4 months, or I might even be out for a whole year. It was just, I know for 10 years, I just went back and forth into this hell.
And whenever we start talking about the assaults and things like that, so it seemed like that was a really big part of your life, whereas the drug addiction was kind of like in the background, something you didn't really make public, but you didn't really mind getting angry at someone at public and kind of going at them, and just that driver of anger that kind of fueled you to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go get this person. And you know, we all know, like as grown adults in a different life now, that's usually what you're angry about is not really what you're angry about. What do you think kind of fueled that anger to take you to that world?
So I know 100% the reason I did that was because I knew at this point, like the people I hung out with, like their parents were in prisons and they were associated with gangs and like they maybe had tattoos when I was in high school. Like the people I was hanging out with were rough, you know. They were maybe older than me too, you know, like so I wanted all those people that like picked on me as a kid growing up or that thought I was weak or that like maybe started on the football team while I was sitting on the bench. I want them to know like now is not the time to play with me. Like me and my friends will come and jump, you know, like I'm in a gang now. That's kind of like the portrayal I was trying to show everybody that I was the baddest, you know, and that's why I talk a lot about like dropping your pride because that pride will get you killed. That
Yeah.
pride will get you killed fast. Trying to be the biggest, baddest man in the, you know, you got to put that to the side and realize like that doesn't matter.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So you're pretty much like this giant, and you've got some of these people like sitting in a little bit of fear because you weren't scared to go aggress them, and then you have a day that happens, and you had some altercations with someone, and you end up finding yourself in jail with like real life gangsters and criminals and people that are like all of a sudden now you're just like a little smaller person here and you've got these people that are really kind of threatening and looming. What did that look like for you in there, and your responses to that?
It was the scariest time of my life. I was seeing 7 foot monsters that have been in prison for 30 years with their faces tatted. And they're looking at me like, look at this little 18-year-old white dude who just rolled in here scared. Like they could smell it on me, you know? And one of my co-defendants, he's my best friend. He ended up being my cellmate too. So I got lucky enough to have him there with me, you know? And I'm like, it's just us two in here. And like, we're young, we're kids. And like, these dudes ain't playing in here. Like, it really shook me. It shook me bad.
Little wake up call there. So I know Alex followed after you a lot, and he was your younger brother, and you had kind of sent word like you really don't want to be in here. You got through that and ended up not getting into trouble because your name kind of wasn't brought into it, and really you just had a miracle land on you with that one. Like that was a blessing for sure. Um, what did it look like from the time you had gotten into that till like you started seeing Alex? Now Alex is at some point, he's doing the same thing. It's like he's being aggressive and aggressor. And so now he's in a situation where he's looking at time, gets sentenced. What does that look like for you between the two of those times? Are you at this point switched and like, no man, don't do it? Or kind of what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to grab him and shake him by his head and tell him, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're supposed to stay out of trouble. Like, you're not supposed to do what I'm doing. You're not supposed to follow me. Him being my little brother, he had this mindset where he just wanted to be bigger and badder than me. Like, he wanted all my friends to be like, dude, your little brother's crazier than you are, you know? So he would just try to triple everything I did, and he did. That's why he went to prison, you know?
Yeah.
Because he just wanted to amplify that.
Yeah. So I know that was 7 years of real darkness, I would say, in your life. Was Alex already out whenever you had kind of put all of that stuff? Alex was already home by this point from prison, right?
So he had been out for a few years and I was still using.
Yeah.
So that was tough. That was tough on us. He really cares about me a lot, and he would always be on me about it, and I try to hide it. I do, I was good at it.
Right. we tend to get pretty good at it, the lies,
Yeah,
the whole thing, to kind of make sure we cover up enough that we can. So then there happens a situation like, always we have this moment of clarity before we get to the next step of, okay, we're using drugs, we're angry, to talk to you now, like you don't even see that person or that side, like you just want to love on people and just be your best self. And so what does that look like? What situation was created there for you that put you to like, no, I'm done with this?
Yeah. So the last time I got arrested, 2 years ago, I went to Hennepin County. Basically, like the end of like I had a possession charge that I got probation for, and then I got a DUI and I violated like 6 times. I've literally been to court so many times on violations and new charges that finally they were just like, all right, you're done. So they sentenced me to 90 days. It's called the workhouse, but it's basically just like it's an old federal prison that they send like all the overflow of Hennepin County to, so there's like 500-600 people there. But they told me, you have to go turn yourself in by 6 o'clock tonight. And then on the way to turn myself in, my brother calls me and lets me know that my cousin passed away. And my cousin was so close to us. He's, like I said, he's like my brother, and that killed me. That really killed me.
Yeah.
His name was Justin Strong. When I got into my cell, it was a long process, all night getting booked in. Finally, I get into my cell where you have to sit in the hole for 2 weeks while they classify you. And I go in and I lay down and I'm just so exhausted. I don't even want to live. My cousin died and I'm in jail now. And I look up and somebody wrote in huge letters, just be strong. And I was like I thought it was a sign, like just be strong. Like, because his last name was Strong, and like it almost said Justin Strong. And I saw it in
Right.
March, like, does that say his, you know? But it said just be strong. And I just looked at it for hours, like, and I kept telling myself, just be strong, just be strong. Like, it was tough. It was tough.
Wow.
So I went to a since I had a DUI, they kind of like said, all right, you're gonna sit in jail while we look for a bed for a treatment center for you. So like it was the last treatment center that I went to when I got out, and it was a good place. It was amazing. Like just a bunch of cool guys that were like, you know what really got what that place really made me realize is like these people look, it was the only place I was at that like a lot of the dudes were just like me, you know, like exact. Like the counselor was like this guy who looked like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. He's a punk rocker. He's like, we need some more dudes in here, and it was just the coolest place. And I was like, you know what? You can be like me, and you can have a happy life, and you can, you know, you can do it sober too.
Wow.
You don't have to commit. Yeah.
So you've been clean for 2 years. Like, what have you been doing for the last 2 years? What does that look like for you? Like, how are things different now as opposed to then? Like, what keeps you sober? What keeps you doing the things that you're doing every day?
Yeah. So I pretty much turned into a hippie. I just love outdoors. I love hiking. I love just nature, you know, like everything to do with nature. Just a hippie. I like being a hippie. I want to go to Woodstock Festival and hang out with everybody and listen to the Great Dead. Like that. I feel like that on the inside.
That's a radical difference, you know, from the angry young kid that just didn't fit in. Now, the hippies just don't care where they fit in. They're just going to kind of hang out and do whatever. They're all about love and peace and happiness, you know.
Right.
So that's
Right.
pretty cool to make that radical turn like that. What would you say to someone who is sitting where the old Christopher was sitting in that just that life of feeling so overwhelmed because you don't fit a certain space. You're not like everyone else. You're not like you don't really even know what you're meant for yet, but now you know you're meant for greatness. So like what would you tell your younger version or Justin's younger version before all of that kind of comes into play and unloads into your life of addiction and possible prison and life in prison and things like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would definitely tell them about the pride thing, you know, like let stuff go. Don't worry about what everyone else is hung up on. Stay in your lane, you know, worry about what you got going on because I mean, it's hard to say that stuff without the experience, you know? It's hard to
Yeah.
like get that in someone's head without them actually going through it to be like, look, this is what you got to do to feel this way. I feel like I needed 10 years of pain and suffering to realize like that's how long it took me. You know, some people it takes a year, some people it takes zero time.
Yeah.
You know, but I needed to get beat up for 10 years to be like, dude, your life is precious, you know?
Yeah. But you also do a lot of the work too. Like you're really a big advocate of mindset and you really follow other people that like what are a couple of influences that you look after to get that inspiration? Because we all have bad days. Like what brings that mindset right back? Like kind of what kind of things do you do for that?
Exercise. I love CrossFit. Now I've gotten to that like the past 4 months, running, exercising. Um, yeah, music. I love music a lot. Like I wake up in the morning and flick music on. It's just my peace. I can't go to sleep without music, you know. I have so many outlets. That's why I never worried about like keeping my mind busy. I have so many just outlets. I just gotta stay motivated and all that and to like keep the fire burning in most of it.
That's one of the things that there's so many things that impress me about you, you know, that but having that mental mindset. I know David Goggins is pretty like he's
I
kind
love
of he's kind of like hardcore, but that's kind of like what you're implementing in your life that you either go after something really hard that's good or you go after something really like if we worked in our lives for the good stuff near as hard as we worked so hard. Like, do you remember that time, those times, how hard it was to live that life? And I don't even think we realized it in that moment. Like we were really working really hard to have our own way that was just not the way.
not the way. It's
And
exhausting.
yeah. So what now? Like what do you want to share with the world? What does that look like? What is Christopher inspired to do with the world. I mean, you have the world's your oyster. You have platforms coming out. You're on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Like you're really starting to share some content and leaning into how you can equip and empower people. If you had to tell them, like, I want you to go watch XYZ, but this is who I really am. This is what I want you to know about me and
Yeah.
and where I want to go.
I just want people to know how like mentally strong you can be, like how that is the strongest muscle in your entire body, your brain. You can do literally anything with like manifesting, positive thinking. It's real. It is so real. I wake up every morning and just positive, positive. What can I do today? How can I make life better? How can I help somebody else around me so that they go and want to do that for somebody? You know?
Yeah.
Even saying something to somebody, just a simple, hey, how's your day? How are you doing? That changes people's lives.
Right.
Well,
you work still in the food and beverage industry where drugs and alcohol are such a prevalent part of that. Have you had people that you work with that you've had opportunity to just kind of give them those things, or do they just kind of look at you and say, I mean, how do people respond to you now? Like what are their reactions to you as a person when you're around? Because they know what you came from, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
And then you have all these tattoos, so they're like, well, he's got to be.
Like being a server, I like to like prove to people who would judge me normally when they first see me. Like when I walk up, people are always like this. Oh my gosh, you're gonna rob me? And then I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm Chris. And they're like, what is wrong with this guy? They can't believe it. So I like strive to like be the opposite of what people think I am, Like I'm a guy with a wife beater and tattoos walking up at a door, and I might look crazy, but I'm walking up to open the door for some old lady, and she's probably like nervous about walking in, but I want to get rid of that stigma, that just because the way you look, that's not how you are, because I was out there being a gang member, drugs, robbing people, doing horrible things, and that wasn't me. I was forcing myself to do that. Deep down inside, I'm like, your grandma would be so disappointed in you right now. What are you thinking?
So I think that you and Alex, from what I really gleaned from your tattoos, is it's kind of an expression of art and emotional things. Can you tell me about a couple of your tattoos that have that real connection and meaning for you? Because I know you just don't get tattooed to get tattooed. Like I think you really have a story behind them. What does that sound like?
Heck yeah. I'll show you a little
I
bit.
love it. Oh, now look, now we're passionate. I love it. Let's go.
Now you're gonna show.
I get it. Let's go.
This, I would say, this is like, I got this whole sleeve when I was like in all of the addiction and the pain and all that. And you can just see it, like it's all skull, a gas mask. And then this sleeve I worked on when I got here, and I like was starting to change, and I got like music, family names, stuff like that. My mom's name up here. I got family on the inside of my arm.
Wow.
I would say the most meaningful one to me is this one. This is the one with Justin, 3 candles. And the 3 candles are for me, Alex, and him. And Alex has the same one on his arm too.
Wow.
Over here. So yeah.
If
that one
people
means a
really
lot to
knew
me.
that, like I think letting people know that it's not just a coloring book. This is really what's going on the inside. You're just showing the world on the outside, and I think that that's a really beautiful thing. And I don't think that it should be frowned upon, because mine have meaning as well. I'm very much into music, and so I have a heart with a note, and then I have 4-leaf clover. My 4-leaf clover was one of the darkest times, and I just felt like I was so alone. It was like I was going to make my own luck, kind of thing.
Right.
But life just doesn't have to be about secluding yourself and running away from that. So I think that, people understanding that, and you and Alex, Alex is modeled with all of these tattoos, and you guys have served in public, and you guys go out there and you skate together with your shirts off, and you're really displaying this. And so what message would you want people to really hear about someone who really is so passionate about their emotions to a level that they want to be reminded of where they're currently at and where they've come from? Like, your body tells a story.
I think if you're willing to put something on your body and it means that much to you, Like that's obviously a passionate person. That's what I see. When I see somebody full of tattoos, I'm like, you're really dedicated, If you're willing to put, I mean, as long as it's not chicken scratch, but yeah, if you're willing to put your family's name on you or like things that you're gonna live with for the rest of your life, then like that is dedication,
Yeah. Would you erase any of them if you could?
No, not even the ones that are a little bit funky, because I look at them and they still have the same feeling as I look at one where I'm like, that's a Mona Lisa,
Yeah, that's what I love about it. I really do, because I'm the same way. Like, I don't think I would ever get them removed, because they symbolize more than just a graphic. It goes well beyond that. I'm so excited that we were able to interview today and just kind of pull out a few of your highlights. You're really just traveling a road that is not even pioneered yet. You're just getting started and you're just on the cusp. I see the guitar in the back.
Yeah.
So you like
to play? We got like 5 of them in here.
Oh wow. What's your favorite one? Because I see some artwork on there. I'm seeing some art on there. Yes.
Yeah.
That's your favorite?
Yeah, this one's dope.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. As long as it's in tune, I love it.
Awesome. So you're obviously very passionate. You want to really kind of help other people to make those best moments. Christopher the Great, you're absolutely great. It was a pleasure to interview you today. Any last fleeting thoughts that you want to leave our audience with, or you just kind of feel complete at this point?
I feel complete, and I appreciate you so much. You were very thorough, and you're amazing. You're an amazing person.
Thank you. It was wonderful talking to you. I just want to really tell people that no matter where you're at in your life and how dark it is and what space you're in and how much you don't fit in and how unhappy you feel like you are, or alone, or in despair, or hopeless, that Christopher and I are here to share today that your story is not over yet, that there's still more to come. And even me at 50, there's more to come, and we all have so much to offer that we can only offer alone. Christopher is quite unique, and that's why I really wanted to take the time to interview him. Please make sure you go follow him on all of his social media platforms. And you want to give us the plugs for that and tell us what I'm not sure which names are on what.
Yeah, everything is the Christopher Denning on TikTok, Instagram, all that.
Awesome. So go follow the Christopher Denning, DENNING. He's amazing. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you later.